I hope you are doing well. In this video lesson, we are going to cover a very important topic in family counseling, the theoretical approaches to family counseling. But before you study the theoretical approaches in family counseling, you need to know certain topics. These are family and its types, what is family counseling, need of family counseling, goals of family counseling, developmental models in family life. Once you have an idea about these topics, this video lesson would make more sense to you. Now, before moving to the actual topic, I will share very briefly about the origin of the family therapy movement. The early family therapists were researchers and clinicians working with troublesome problems in families such as schizophrenia, depression or delinquency in any family member. The individual family member identified as having a specific problem was called identified patient. The early family therapy practitioners were of the view that it is more important to treat diagnosable problems than relational issues. Therapy with families was done as the therapist believed that individual pathology was best treated by working with the family. So, the origin of family therapy was treating pathology and not relational problems per se. So, this is how therapy with family began. However, later relational problems in themselves were seen to be important sources of disruption in families. There are many pioneers in the field who have contributed immensely to the development of the field of family and couple therapy. They are Nathan Eckerman, Murray Bowen, Gregory Bateson, Salvador Munition, Virginia Satir, Carl Whitaker. Some of these we will study in detail today. So, let's begin. We will be covering 5 theoretical approaches in this session. General systems theory, Bowen's family system theory, also called multi-generational therapy, Salvador Munition structural family therapy, strategic family therapy, and Virginia Satir transformational system therapy. Let's start with the family systems theory. To understand family system theory, we need to know the basic premise of the systems theory first. The basic tenets of general system theory which you should know are: any system is an organized whole. Objects within the system are necessarily interdependent. The whole is greater than the sum of its parts. Now, systems are composed of subsystems. Family system theory derives from the general system theory. A family system includes family members, the unique attributes of the family members, and the relationships between the family members. Family subsystem includes like the sibling subsystem, parent subsystem, grandparent subsystem, and the like. The suprasystem, the larger system, consists of the groups like the community, school, religious group with which the family interacts. This is visually represented here in the 2 pictures which you can see. The left side one shows the family systems, subsystems, and the right one shows the various suprasystems with which the family interacts. Family system theory allows family therapists to examine the context in which the individuals live. It is this context that shapes meaning in the lives of individuals, couples, and families. Take an example. If a man comes for therapy showing insistent and compulsive checking behaviors, if he is studied individually, then the person might be seen as suffering from obsessive compulsive symptoms. But from the system's perspective view, it is learned that his ex-wife and children died in a house fire. which apparently occurred because of the man's careless attitude. Now, we may now reconsider his behaviors in light of this new information which we got. Systems theory thereby help us to understand client's problem and devise solutions based on his or her intra and interfamilial context. Coming to the next, which is the Bowen's theory. It was given by Murray Bowen. He gave a very influential family systems theory. Bowen believed that patterns of emoting, thoughts and behaviors persist in families across generations, and problematic behaviors can be passed down and creates conflicts. He gave many concepts, one of the most important being differentiation of self. Differentiation of the self is the person's ability to separate his own feelings and thoughts and also to differentiate them from others. It is an ability to have and maintain your thoughts, feelings, your sense of self and identity in close and intimate relationships. Undifferentiated people, according to Bowen, cannot separate feelings and thoughts and often have difficulty separating their own feelings from those of others. In other words, their thoughts and feelings are entangled or fused with their loved ones. It is called fusion. Undifferentiated people look to their family to define how they think, feel about their issues, people, and interpret their experiences. Differentiation is the process of freeing oneself from one's family's emotional processes to define oneself. For example, there is a person Rahul. Rahul might repeatedly fight with his father, whose name is Mr. Dev, suppose, saying his father is too dominating and critical of him. While his father, Mr. Dev, says his son is too careless and unfocused. Rahul gets upset and the cycle repeats. From Bowen's perspective, Rahul has not achieved differentiation. On the other hand of fusion, there is another concept which is called emotional cutoff. Emotional cutoff is the tendency to disengage emotionally from others. Such exclusion is also a kind of undifferentiation of self according to Bowen. Now, emotional cutoff, we can see in case of conflict, emotional cutoff refers to an extreme response by a member which involves a complete or almost complete separation from the family. This person will have little or no contact and may look and feel completely independent from the family. However, this emotional and physical disconnect does not reflect differentiation of self. The person might be disconnected from the family, but not differentiated from the family. He or she is unable to see the adaptive and healthy characteristics of their family and might get disturbed in case of any inadvertent or chance contact with the family. Let's take an example of a girl named Raksha who says, I am so happy that I moved out of the country and stopped being in touch with my parents. Now they can never make me unhappy again. According to Bowen, people who cut off their family are more likely to repeat their emotional and behavior patterns which they were taught. In some cases, they have the same values and coping patterns in their adult family that they were taught in their childhood family, even without realizing it. Another important concept in this theory is that of triangles or triangulation. So what is triangulation? Whenever there is a conflict between two people in a family or feelings of intense emotions, they will seek a third person to ease the tension between them. For example, just take an example like Neha and Aman are a married couple and had a quarrel between them. Aman calls his mother to discuss about the fight. Now his mother might either calm their strong emotions and help them reflect, or might knowingly, unknowingly escalate the conflict by becoming the third party in their relationship. According to Bowen, people who have more undifferentiated self are more likely to triangulate others or involve others. Bowen proposed that these family emotional processes are transferred and maintained over the generations and called them multi-generational transmission process. As the patterns of emoting and behaviors continue over generations, there is often a reference to earlier generations while comparing an individual in the present. For example, he is just as careless as his father. So, the goal of Bowen therapy is developing healthy differentiation among each individual within the family unit to foster healthy boundaries between family members, understand and work upon the influences of the past generations, cognitive, emotional and behavioral patterns on present family systems. Other than these three concepts, Bowen also discussed nuclear family projection process, nuclear family emotional process, societal emotional process, sibling birth order, etc., which you can read if you are interested. The next theoretical approach we are going to cover is structural family therapy. Now, the structural family therapy is a type of family therapy that looks at the structure or the hierarchical organization of a family unit and try to improve the interactions between family members. This approach to therapy was originally developed by Salvador Minuchin and his associates and has become one of the popular forms of family intervention. Although structural family therapy derives certain principles of system theory like family rules, roles, coalitions, triangulations, subsystems, boundaries, etc., however, a structural family therapist generally work by formulating family members' difficulties in terms of family structure and its organization in the here and now. Structure here implies the overt and covert rules that influence interpersonal choices and behaviors in the family. The assumption here is when the structure of the group changes, the positions of group members also changes. In a way, each individual's experience changes, which has the potential to alleviate experience distress. Structural family therapists believe that problems may not be caused but maintained by a dysfunctional family organization. Therefore, when trying to solve a family problem, they are less concerned with the root cause of the problem. Instead, they focus on how the family is structured. Rather than focusing on the history of the problem, structural family therapists are more interested in present-centered issues such as who is in charge in the family, who are the allies in the family, how much personal space exists for people to assume responsibilities for their actions, who has power over whom, and how much flexibility exists for family members to change roles in different situations. Some of the concepts in structural theory are family structure, family subsystems, alliance and coalitions, and boundary permeability. Let's begin with family structure. Family structure involves family hierarchical organization. You must be knowing a hierarchy is a system of organizing members according to power held or levels of importance. Structural family therapists propose that an individual or few family members must take the leadership role for healthy relationships among members. They believe that differential hierarchical structure and power dynamics is required for the decision-making processes in families. However, families must also rearrange their structure in order to meet the demands of crisis situations. For example, although the mother and father might handle the majority of housework and decision making in a family, some of the older children might have to assume more of this responsibility if one of the parents suffer with some serious illness. As the parent recovers, he or she can return to the previous position of authority. According to Minuchin, problems arise when families fail to change their leadership based on the demands of the situation. That is, there is a lack of functional leadership subsystem. They believe in the adaptability and flexibility of hierarchical structure and power dynamics in decision making process that is required in families for them to function effectively. Similar to system theory, structural family therapy breaks family down into various subsystems. Example, as you know, spouse subsystem, parental subsystem, sibling subsystem, or larger systems, suprasystems which we say school, community, friends, etc. A person's identity is formed by being member of these various subsystems. Another important concept in structural family therapy is the concept of boundaries. Now, boundaries are the rules that govern who is included and excluded from a specific subsystem. Minuchin believed that families must operate with appropriate boundaries in order to maintain healthy relationships. He proposed boundaries to be either rigid, they can be enmeshed, distinguished, or clear boundaries. Now, rigid boundaries occur when family members are isolated or disconnected from one another. Parents with rigid boundaries exert too much control over the family, not allowing the child to learn from his or her experiences. In diffuse or enmeshed boundaries, there is little independence between family members. Each individual's emotional state is dependent upon how the other members of the family are feeling. For example, in enmeshed families, parent might expect their child to follow the beliefs and values that they model, or where parents' self-worth depends on their child's achievements. Now, disengaged families are families that are close to each other, however, disconnected from the rest of their community. In clear boundaries, the lines of responsibility and authority are overt, communicated, and understood. Clear boundaries create an environment in which people feel comfortable sharing their thoughts and feelings. According to structural theorists, it is desirable to have boundaries that are permeable and flexible according to different demands of the situations for an optimal family functioning. The boundaries concept is pictorially depicted, you can see, as the different styles of lines which are visible here. The dotted line shows enmeshed boundaries, a straight line depicts disengaged and closed boundaries, whereas the dashed line shows the clear and healthy boundaries. Another relevant concept in structural theory is alliance and coalitions. An alliance is when two or more family members join together to handle a specific problem. For example, a mother and father going regularly for buying grocery, and a father and son cooking together on a Sunday. These are all examples of alliance. In normal conditions, alliances often shift as family members carry out different tasks. Each time a new alliance is formed, it leads to a new subsystem. Coalitions are formed when two or more family members join together against one or more family members. Now, coalitions usually come into being when two family members have a disagreement and a third member joins in to provide support to the perceived weaker member in order to balance the system. Coalitions can be overt or covert and secretive in nature. The more overt a coalition is, the easier it is to resolve. According to structural theorists, coalitions are harmful to healthy family life, and the more covert the nature, the more difficult it is to resolve them. For example, when a parent and child joins forces against other parent, so that's a coalition. A concept similar to triangles in structural therapy is detouring. Detouring in which the parents shift their focus onto their child each time a problem arises between them. The reason might be that disagreement among themselves, among the parents, would be very stressful for them to handle. So, their attention is diverted onto the child and his or her problems, which is actually not good for the child, as he might have to carry the brunt of his or her parents' anxiety. On the part of the parents, this might be an unconscious or undeliberate action. Parents might not know what they are doing. The goal of structural therapy is to let families understand the importance of family organization, structures and boundaries in healthy family functioning, and also the relevance of modifying these structures as and when to meet the changing demands in the family life. Till now, in the system and structure approach to counseling families, the role of therapist is a very active one, of a catalyst and a change agent. However, the next approach we are going to do is based on a humanistic school of thought. It's by Virginia Satir. This is experiential therapy, which is best depicted in one of the quotes by Satir, which is given here. When I first begin to work with someone, I am not interested in changing them. I am interested in finding their rhythms, being able to join with them and helping them go inside to those scary places. The main principles of the theory are derived from humanistic or Rogerian school of thought, which believes that a philosophy of growth, it believes an emphasis on the expression of feeling and meaning, an orientation towards increased physical and emotional health, leading to wholeness and balance. Each person taking responsibility for self. So these are the main principles of the humanistic therapy. Satir therapy is different from the past therapies in being experiential, wherein the therapist shares his or her personal feelings and thoughts in the therapy session. The theory is based on following principles which are given. Dysfunctional behavior is a result of a deficit in growth. Individual symptoms are associated with low self-esteem. A person's self-esteem manifests itself in poor communication. So, low self-esteem leads to dysfunctional communication patterns according to this theory. The way people in families communicate reflect the way they feel about themselves. Family members with high self-esteem communicate in direct, open, clear, genuine and authentic ways. On the contrary, people who feel bad about themselves, that is, who have low self-esteem and self-worth, they tend to use dysfunctional ways of communication according to this theory. All people are connected through a universal life energy. This is another tenet of this theory, which can be accessed to achieve a transformational change. Now, therapists work to help individuals achieve this transformational change. So, the goal of therapy is to work upon three aspects: individual growth and development, improving self-esteem and self-worth, and communication. So, that's the last thing. The last theoretical approach in this session that we are going to in this session is the strategic family therapy. It is developed by many, but main proponents are J. Haley and Chloe Madders. It is comparatively a short-term therapy which generally lasts between 12 and 16 sessions. It is often used with families of children or adolescents who are dealing with behavioral issues. Like other therapies, strategic therapy also focus on communication patterns and interactions between family members, as they are considered to be playing a role in the identified patient symptoms. Strategic therapists tend to view problems as resulting from applying a solution to a familial issue that does not work and continuing to do more of the same despite undesirable results. Take an example. There is an adolescent who do drug abuse. This adolescent's behavior may reflect maladaptive family interactions. They are maladaptive interactions or family exchanges because the family repeatedly engages in them with the intent to eliminate the adolescent drug use and continue to use them despite a clear evidence that these interactions are not working. The goal of the therapy is to develop techniques for solving problems specific to the family's interactions and structure. It is strategic as the therapist designs specific strategies to bring a change in family's interaction system. The focus here is to find solutions to problems and resolve the familial issues. That's why it is strategic. In summary, the stages, we can say the stages of the therapy are very clear cut: identifying solvable problems, set goals, design interventions to achieve those goals, examine the responses, and examine the outcome of the therapy. So with this, we come to end of this topic. In this session, we have covered 5 theoretical approaches to family counseling: the general system theory, the Bowen family system theory, the Salvador Minutian structural family therapy, the strategic family therapy, and the Virginia Satir's transformational system therapy. I hope you have understood the concepts discussed in this session and enjoyed your learning experience. Thank you so much. Goodbye.